Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. Question to Becki. Becki, what do you wish you'd had a chance to say but just didn't get time in the show?
Well, Brad, I wish I'd had time to elaborate a little bit on the Regulatory Reform Act of 2019 that I mentioned. And as I mentioned in the show, we've had a Regulatory Reform Act every year since 2011. And we've had just substantial regulatory reform in North Carolina over all these years. You hear a lot about the tax reform. You hear a lot about reining in the growth of government. You hear a lot about the infrastructure investments that have been made, changing the way that we fund education and those kind of things. What you don't hear, but it just keeps kind of going along steady, are these regulatory reforms, looking at rules that have been in place for perhaps 50 years and reviewing those to see whether or not they still apply. Do we need to get rid of them? And we've gotten rid of, I think it's like 18% of rules that have been reviewed have been wiped off the books entirely. And if you think about regulation as a cost, that there's a cost to every regulation, whether it's putting some sort of environmental things in place, or in many cases it's a cost to your freedom of how you can enjoy your property, if you can plant a tree or build a deck on the back of your house and those kind of things. But it's also a real impediment to people being able to work. For example, in this year's Regulatory Reform Act, and it's really interesting to look through it. I mean, what I find myself saying is, that makes sense. And as you go through all of these suggestions, this really makes sense. One that really made sense to me was doing a review of online availability for registration or getting an occupational license, so that instead of having to come to Raleigh or having to travel someplace in the state, perhaps taking a day off from work to take an exam or to take a refresher course or whatever might be required, could we put more of those online so that it would be just, easier for people to do this? Those are the kinds of common sense things that we'll really see work through the General Assembly. I think it's making a tremendous difference in everyday lives of North Carolinians, and it just doesn't get the attention that a lot of the other big item ticket things get.
And it truly impacts our economy too.
Absolutely.
At every level in rural, suburban, and metropolitan North Carolina. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for watching the After Spin. More video all during the week right here on ncspin.com.